snake fan of geese. Now, while I was making Delugeator, I created a random synth generator. And then it occurred to me that it would be interesting to also have a random kit generator. And that's a whole different story. As you may know, in Deluge, drum kit consists of drum sounds. And sound consists of, first there's a sample. Well, it can also be a synth, but for our purposes now it's a sample. And then there's parameters, different kind of parameters that affect it. Most of the Deluge is kind of like factory kits. Most of them are sample based, or there are some very easy kind of like parameter edits. And while making Delugeator, which by the way, if you are new here, is kit editor for Deluge, and also now a synth viewer and lots of other stuff. But anyway, what's the other videos? In Deluge, there's actually a whole lot of different kind of parameters available for individual drum sounds, and I had been kind of like intending to do a video about them to show that how many different ways there is to absolutely mess and fuck up all the sound. And I guess this is kind of like it, because this is now also educational video of how how parameters kind of like affect the sound. Although everybody is now making educational videos, YouTube is like one stupid synth training center, and I don't really get it. But again, what hell was I rambling about? Yeah, the parameters. The parameters, there's a whole lot of them, and I also, when I made this random kit generator, I also noticed why they are just very lightly when doing the kit, since with random synths, it's kind of like, okay, there's one chaotic random sound, but when you add 10 of those and kind of like create a kit out of them, that's a madhouse, basically. Well, this kit generator that I have made for Delugeator 0.2 is kind of like still very experimental. It maybe needs a little bit of work to actually get it to produce something useful in parameter side, because the random synth generator creates occasionally some interesting sounds, but this, well, you will see. But yeah, let's talk about the samples first. I have a ridiculous amount of samples. I just counted for this video that I had 80,000 samples on my hard disk. That's fucking stupid. No wonder if I'm running out of disk space. Though I think about 70,000 of them seem to come from these samples from Mars total pack that I sometimes bought when I was drunk or something. But it's still, yeah, even though it's 10,000, it's still a ridiculously large amount of stuff. About, I don't know, 8,000 of them are drum samples, different kind of stuff. I don't know how many 808 kits are there. It's stupid. I don't know. They have just come from free from net and from friends and from this kind of old DVDs that came with Computer Music magazine. Remember that? This is from July 2005. This is 18 years old. Oh my god. Anyway, but I have kind of like been a good boy and organized my drum samples in different categories: kicks, snares, claps, hi-hats, and so on. And so I made kind of like this kind of thing to Delugeator. Let me show you. Yeah, here you can see the settings. This is the new setting dialog for Delugeator, and here you can see that you can select 10 folders, and this thing will search for any samples in them and pick one randomly. And as you can see, since I have been a good boy and arrange all the stuff, I can just pick kick and snare and hi-hat and open hi-hat and blah blah blah. It can also select just one sample, or it's possibility to here to select both oscillators to fill them. I think this is also one very much underutilized thing in at least in factory drum kits, that you can actually have two samples layered in there and not just one sample. I didn't actually know that for a while before reading the fucking manual. And that's kind of like the easy thing to do, I mean. And the results were kind of good. And here are some of the results. I have made this basic comparison kit that actually was also a random kit from samples coming with Deluge, and this is it. Just some basic funky beat here going on. And now we can see what kind of random samples are. And so on. When you have a lot of samples, it creates a lot of variance. My huge sample collection here, it generates interesting results. And I have had a lot of fun with this, especially since Delugeator now has a test drum machine, so I don't have to import all of this. And these are actually pretty usable. Some tweaking, I like it. It generates unexpected combinations that sometimes work and sometimes don't. And that's kind of like the idea of randomness to me, that some of the stuff won't work, but some of them is pretty great, and a lot of it is something that you wouldn't have found otherwise, because it's really easy to create. It's just click new kit, new kit, new kit, and pick your favorites. It's fun. This was a success. But then there's the parameters. Yeah, the parameters. If you have seen my earlier video about random synth generator, or use the online Deluge random synth generator, then this will probably look a bit familiar to you. These are the kit settings. And they are very similar to the random synth settings. There are some specialities here, like oscillator really only has a volume and and a pan, since it's always a sample, and there's sample start and end points that can be randomized, and then there's the thing reverse. You can there's a reverse chance that you can set up how often the sample is reversed, and these are set individually to each sample that you have selected. Here's a selection randomize, that basically you click it here and then this sound gets a random sample and a random set of parameters, and the random set of parameters is dependent here. The sound is based on the default sound that comes out of Deluge, and randomization it's a triangular probability distribution where kind of like the apex, the top of the triangle is set on the current value, and then this value here you use basically to kind of like widen the triangle so that bigger deviations from the starting point become more and more probable. So the triangle can be kind of like really sharp or really wide, according to your selection here. And this generates problems, since on synth even the wider values could kind of like some of them were bigger and some of them were smaller, but on kit there's always there's 10 sounds. There's if you put the values at really wide or extreme, then there's always something really wild going on somewhere in the kit, and this is very much a work in progress here, because I have to still kind of like I would like to figure out how to make this more useful, since the random sample selection definitely is useful. I would like this to be more like a thing that gives the sound a little bit of color instead of completely fucking destroying it and doing it 10 times, if you catch my meaning. Let's see some or listen some examples about randomization only happening in some parts of the parameters. And this is kind of like, like I said, another of these stupid educational videos. Welcome to school, but school with drums, which is kind of cool. So let's listen a bit. First, a few words about my basic kit here. That's kind of like the basis of all this. It's also a random kit, but it's made in such a way that the samples are the same. So all the variation comes from the parameters here. And this is the basic kit that you have already heard and you will hear a lot. Just some basic boring samples from the use and a basic beat. First up, volume. Volume and pan. It just basically makes something quieter. Then there's a sample start and end points. That makes it quieter, and some of the sounds kind of like rise and fall differently. As you know, it's a ADSR. Did I say it correctly? Envelope, the basic envelope. You probably know what I'm talking about. Do I know what I'm talking about? I don't know. And then and the problem here, of course, that if the randomization gets a bit larger, there's nothing anymore. It's gone. Okay, then there's the reverb and delay, the basic beat. Some mild randomization. Kind of dubby. And it goes on somewhere there. Just wait for a moment. I may have broken the engine. That. I have no idea what's going on there. I have noticed that while making this randomization, that sometimes this creates something that kind of like breaks the Deluge sound engine somehow, or something weird things happen. Oh, there's. I don't know. But anyway. Then there's the effects, or what I call here effects. That's basically sample rate reduction, bit crusher, and saturation. These are kind of like toned down by default if you are not in a hardcore mode where all the restrictions are off, since they tend to generate something pretty harsh, at least on synth side and also here. But let's listen. A mild I don't know, good if you're into industrial jungle or stuff like that. And then there's the modulation effects. It can be flanger or chorus or phaser or none for each row. So let's listen. First some mild and then some wild, but first a basic beat as a reference. And then there's, of course, filters and equalization. So wild. Yeah, that's why wild modulation is, randomization is, it turned this drum beat into, I don't know, some kind of fucked up hand organ, you know, like kind of these big boxes where you pull this lever and, I don't know, hurdy-gurdy. Yeah. And then there's modulation. The basic idea of randomization with this is that since Deluge has this kind of like this modulation matrix or whatever you call it, and this generates kind of like randomized amount of those with randomized values, with randomized targets, and the results can be pretty unexpected. But let's see. Well, today we didn't catch anything really strange here, but yeah, modulation is kind of like the thing that can really make it weird when it gets right. And now some combinations. First, some sample start and endpoint and envelopes, and after that there's reverb, delay and filters and EQ, all mildly randomized. Can generate this was kind of like the most kind of useful stuff that was made here. And then there's this. I'm fucking this. Another hurdy-gurdy hand organ. I don't know what to call it. Positive we call it in Finland. Shut up. And then what will happen if you can like take everything with, including the reverse settings? Um, let's see. Um, Yeah. If you can like are, I don't know, into Apex Twin or stuff like that, this might be a dream. And it's actually pretty funny and interesting and maybe inspiring. I don't know. But perhaps my dream would be to get this kind of like a bit more making something that's a bit more sensible than this or some other there's a many I have many many setups of the same stuff. Yeah, it's basically always like that when you add, even when you randomize very mildly with the parameters. So I think my kind of suggestion how to use this right now would be to use the sample randomization. That actually, it, as I said, it's really fun, and maybe add a couple of these randomized parameter sounds as kind of like effects or tasters there, so that you actually have a beat going and this kind of, I don't know, if you are into that kind of stuff, then I have made something just for you. Okay. So be happy. But so, Delugeator 2.0 out. Hope you create better random kits than I did. Well, the sample, just a sample one, as I said, they were excellent. But yeah, let's groove on to these kits and rock on.